Every level of intelligence explained. Which one are you?
Level 1, the curious one. It starts with a question you can't let go of. Not a school question, not something a teacher handed you, something that crawled into your head at 2 a.m. and refused to leave. You don't know why you care this much. You just do. You're reading things nobody told you to read, watching videos nobody recommended. You follow one idea into another, then another, and suddenly 3 hours are gone and you don't remember eating. People around you find it weird. You find their indifference weirder. This is the beginning. You don't know it yet. You think everyone thinks like this. They don't. Most people stop at the surface. You keep going down. That's the difference. Not talent, not IQ, hunger.
Level 2, the pattern spotter. You start seeing things other people miss. A conversation happens. Everyone else hears words. You hear the structure beneath the words. Why the argument works, where the logic breaks, what the person actually wants versus what they're saying. It feels like a superpower. For a while, you think you're just smarter than everyone. You're not. You're just paying attention differently. You begin connecting ideas across subjects. Philosophy bleeding into economics, biology explaining behavior, history rhyming with the present. You make a connection at dinner that stops the table cold. Nobody follows it. You stop explaining halfway through. That's the first loss. The moment you realize that thinking out loud doesn't always land. You learn to edit yourself. Not all intelligence deserves an audience. You file that lesson away.
Level 3, the student of systems. You stop studying subjects. You start studying how things work. Every system has a logic. Companies, relationships, governments, social groups. Once you see the logic, you can predict outcomes. You can see 3 moves ahead in a conversation. You know what someone is about to say before they say it. You read biographies now, not for inspiration, but for data. How did this person actually get there? What did they trade? What did they lose? You start to notice that most people operate on inherited assumptions, rules they never questioned, maps drawn by someone else. You begin drawing your own. This is where it gets quiet. The people you grew up with are still playing the same game on the same board. You've started questioning the board. The gap widens without drama. No falling out, just distance. You spend more time alone with books and ideas than with most people. You tell yourself that's fine. Mostly it is.
Level 4, the operator. Now you build things. Not physical things necessarily. Frameworks, arguments, systems, plans that actually work. You take an idea from abstract to concrete in the time it takes most people to finish complaining about the problem. You've learned to translate intelligence into results. That translation is everything. Raw thinking without execution is just expensive daydreaming. You start producing. A business, a body of work, a reputation built on delivering. People begin coming to you. Not for conversation, for answers. You notice the shift. You were once the student in every room. Now you're occasionally the one being studied. You clear a goal you set 18 months ago. Then you set a harder one. The work is the reward. That's not a motivation quote. It's a survival mechanism. The external validation is inconsistent. The internal standard is the only thing stable enough to build on. You're operating. You're effective. But you're aware of how much you still don't know. That awareness is its own kind of intelligence.
Level 5, the strategist. You think in time horizons now. Not this week, not this year, decades. You understand that most people are reacting. You've learned to position, placing yourself where the opportunity will be before it arrives. You've been early enough times, that it no longer feels like luck to you. You study failure more than success. Failure is more honest. Success gets edited in the retelling. You've made expensive mistakes and treated them like tuition. You stopped resenting the cost once you extracted the lesson. Your thinking has a different quality now. Slower on the surface, faster underneath. You don't move until you understand the terrain. When you do move, you don't hesitate. Other intelligent people notice you. A small network forms. These relationships are careful, calibrated, mutual. Everyone in this circle is useful to everyone else. That sounds cold. In practice, it's the most honest form of respect. You've learned that the most powerful moves are often invisible. No announcement, No performance, just outcomes.
Level 6, the architect. You stop executing. You design the conditions that produce execution. Other people carry out the work. You built the system they work inside. The incentive structures, the constraints, the culture, that's your fingerprint. Most people inside the system don't know it. That's by design. Your decisions affect hundreds of people, maybe more. You hold that weight with a kind of practiced stillness. You stopped flinching at hard calls around level 4. By now, the stillness is real. You think about legacy, not publicly. You've watched people embarrass themselves chasing it. But privately, in the early morning, before the day fills up, you think about what you're building and whether it outlasts you. The loneliness is structural. There are things you cannot say out loud because the moment you say them, they become political. You live with a kind of internal weather nobody else can see. You have the influence. You have the resources. What you don't always have is someone who sees you clearly. That's the price. You knew it was coming. Knowing didn't make it lighter.
Level 7, the Philosopher-King. You've stopped needing to prove it. There's nothing left to prove. The record speaks without your help. You turn down opportunities not because you can't, because you've already been there, already know what it costs, already extracted what it had to teach. Your relationship with intelligence has fundamentally changed. You no longer wield it like a weapon. You carry it like a responsibility. You mentor without advertising it. You solve problems in the background of other people's narratives. You've become a force that mostly operates out of frame. The questions that interest you now have no clean answers. What is a life well used? What do we owe the people we influence? When does ambition become damage? You sit with those questions. You don't need to resolve them. The capacity to hold difficult questions without collapsing into easy answers, that is its own form of intelligence, maybe the highest one. You are in many ways content, and that contentment took longer to build than everything else.
Level 8, the unknown. You don't speak much anymore. Not because you have nothing to say, because you understand the weight of words set at your altitude. One observation reshapes a room. One question redirects a career. You've learned to be careful with that. Most people don't know your name. The ones who matter do. You've watched ideas you planted decades ago bloom in fields you'll never walk through. That's fine. The idea was always the point, not the credit. You think about the people you were before this. The curious kid at 2 a.m., the pattern spotter nobody could keep up with, the operator grinding toward the first real result. You hold them with something close to tenderness. They were trying. They had no idea what was coming. That was a mercy. You carry all of them still. They are not erased. They are the foundation. And then, somewhere, in a city you've never been to, a young person falls into a rabbit hole at 2 a.m. following a question nobody gave them. They can't stop thinking. They don't understand why they're different. They don't know what's coming. But they will.